If you are watching this the day that I posted, this is your reminder to go out and get your Powerball ticket. 1.25 billion is on the line. If you forgot, go get your ticket. And if you win something, let us know in the comments. I'm generally not a lottery player, but today might be my lucky day, so I'm certainly gonna take my butt to the bodega and get me a ticket. Now, my dad is heavy into like lottery, keno, like horse races, all that kind of thing. Like that's his thing. Any kind of rules on any of these games, he probably knows what they are. I did not know that how much you actually get in the lottery is different depending on what state you're in and what the taxes are. I had no idea. However, my question to you is, given that if you win, you're not going to get the full 1.25 billion, are you going to say, well, I'm not really winning the lottery because I'm not getting 1.25 billion. I'm only getting like, I don't know, 700 million, or whatever, millions it is, depending on what state you are in. Let me know. Would you still be willing to play even if technically like you're not getting the full 1.25 billion dollars? With every opportunity, there's always some kind of downside. Nothing is 100% win-win-win no matter what it is. Even think about your boyfriend or your girlfriend. They're not perfect all the time. Like they got problems, right? It's kind of like when you buy a house, it is an asset. It's going to allow you to grow equity that you can pull from in the future. It is going to allow you to increase your net worth like pretty lazily. However, the downside is that you are going to have to pay taxes on that building. And in some states, it's going to be a stupid amount of taxes. Now, does that mean that buying a house is a bad idea simply because there's a downside to it? I say absolutely not, but tell me in the comments what your thoughts are. On my end, I'm into real estate, so for me, it's a no-brainer that no, like despite the downside, this is an absolutely integral move in your life. Now, the other day I got a comment on one of my videos. I love comments, drop your comments. I read all of them. I respond to all of them. So don't be shy. I will either respond like via text or sometimes I'll make a whole video. It's just easier for me to talk than to spend my time typing. So the comment is right here. And the pushback was on being able to access funds from a life insurance policy. And their concern was, well, I have to borrow money from this policy to access the funds. And so what the heck? Now, if you're new here and you did not know that you could access money from a life insurance policy, hang tight. I'm going to get you up to speed real quick. And also, by the way, my name is Nobu Musikiwa. I help people over 40 save smarter, pay less taxes, and exit the 9 to 5 sooner by leveraging cash value life insurance. Now, getting back to the technicality about a loan. It is first important to push out of your head your understanding of a loan and borrowing. When you borrow from a bank, right, you apply for a loan, there's dates you have to pay, there's payments you have to put in, there's different interest rates depending on your credit score, and that is not the same with life insurance. When you are borrowing from a life insurance policy, there are no applications, there are no due dates for your payments, there is no obligation to pay back into your policy. Now, depending on what you're doing with the policy, it might be a good idea for you to pay that back. It all depends on what your overall goal is with the policy. Now, for many people who aren't looking at the bigger picture, they're going to see the borrowing as a downside because they're thinking of borrowing the way that they're thinking about loans in a bank. However, borrowing in life insurance is a loophole that you can take advantage of. Whenever you borrow from a life insurance policy, you're not taking money out of your policy. You're borrowing from the insurance company and they're using your money in your policy as collateral. So what that means is your money doesn't actually leave your policy. You get taxed on money that you withdraw from your policy, but if you're borrowing from the insurance company, then you're not gonna get taxed. But more importantly, because you are borrowing from the insurance company, your money inside your policy never leaves. So if you have $100,000 in your cash value policy, let's say it's a good year, it's at 9%. You borrow $50,000, which the insurance company fronts you at 5%. The amount that is still going to be getting interest in your policy is still $100,000. So you're borrowing $50,000, you are making money with it outside of your policy, but you still have $100,000 that is still getting interest in your policy, which means that even though you're paying 5% on that 50K to the insurance company, you are still making, what did I say, 8% or 9%? I don't know, whatever the difference is. I don't remember what number I said, whether I said 8 or 9%, like whatever the difference is between what you're paying the insurance and the interest that you make in your cash value, you are still making that interest on that 50K that you borrowed, whether it's 4% or 3%. So you can have the mindset of looking at things based on what you think you know, and say, well, because it's borrowing, this is a bad idea. Or you can take a step back and look at the whole picture and understand that these are loopholes that corporations use. These are loopholes that your bank uses. These are loopholes that like people with money use in order for them to have their money work for them in multiple places and have their money grow faster. If you're new to the world of using life insurance to your advantage while you're alive, and not just the way that we thought life insurance worked growing up, which is just to leave money behind for when you pass away, there are so many misunderstandings and myths because we look at things based on what we believe and what we know, and it's hard for us to imagine, right, other possibilities. That the thing that's going to help you open up more doors and help you understand this better is asking more questions. So as you watch videos here, as you watch other videos elsewhere, as you have conversations with other people, whether they have policies or whether they're agents or whether they're brokers, ask questions. And so you better understand how all this works, because here is the thing. Making money, having options, having financial freedom is, in my opinion, 100% a game. And you can win a game without knowing the rules. It's possible. But you have a much, much better chance of winning the game if you understand the rules so you can use those rules to your advantage.